And welcome back to TWiP. As you can probably guess, I am not Frederick Van Johnson. I am Bruce Clarke, the host of TWiP Weddings. Frederick had a sudden change in his schedule tonight and wasn't able to join us, but I am joined by two fabulous co-hosts who I know will get us through this in one piece. I told Frederick that it was my first call up to host the mothership, and I would do my best to not crash the mothership or dent it, or it's like when you borrow mom's car. Do you guys ever borrow mom's car and you're just like, or dad's car, and you're worried you'd want to scratch it or crash it into something? So I told him I would, be very careful with his baby and not crash it. So I'm joined by wedding photographer extraordinaire, Miss Sara France. Hello.
Hello.
And also joined by the Nimble Photographer himself and host of the Digital Story, Mr. Derrick Story. Hello, Derrick.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. So, Sara, you haven't been on in a while. I think Derrick, you haven't been on in a while as well. So, what have you guys been up to in the last little while since we've seen you on TWiP?
You want me to go first? I'll go first.
Sure. Ladies first.
It's been super busy. I mean, we're in slow season, but that never means that it's not busy around here. I have a team of 3 photographers now, so it's myself and 2 other photographers in San Diego, and we haven't announced it yet, but I'll go ahead and share some news with you. We have decided to add another photographer onto our team in Austin, Texas. So we now have France photographers in Austin, Texas, which we're really excited about, and we're expanding that and building new websites and revamping kind of some of the structure and stuff. So it's been really excited, and I mean, of course, we're also getting ready for WPPI, which is like right around the corner.
Awesome, that's fantastic. We got to get you on TWiP Weddings one of these days.
I know, yeah. Anytime.
Had you on yet, so. We need somebody to keep Robert in check on the show. So
for sure.
Excellent, good stuff. And Mr. Derrick Story, what have you been up to?
I've been on the road a little bit and just got back from Austin, so Sara and I were talking about that offline. It was my first visit there, and I just loved it. I think it's a cool place. Cool place for street shooting, which is what we were doing.
I've never been, but...
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's a good place.
Yeah, what brought you down there?
I was shooting with the Olympus Pen F. We were testing it and getting ready to write articles about it and all that, so... Wanted to go somewhere where there was a lot to shoot. It's a street shooting camera, so we wanted to kind of get all streety that way.
That's fantastic. We actually talked about that camera a little bit last week, I believe. We had Valerie on the show, and they talked a little bit about the Olympus Pen. So I want to get what are your thoughts on it now that you've had a chance to kind of go out and play with it and shoot with it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wrote a review on it. I mean, personally, I love it. I think it's a fantastic camera. And I got all hooked on the monochrome settings, and there's a Tri-X setting there, which was my favorite black and white film. I still shoot it actually sometimes in other cameras, and I just got hooked on that, and I really had a hard time getting off Tri-X. I felt like a crack addict or something. So
it reeled you in and wouldn't let you go.
It was really fun. Prime lenses and Tri-X in Austin, Texas was a good combination.
That's fantastic. So is that replacing the Pen E?
It doesn't replace anything. It's a whole new thing. You know, so you still have the OMD line, and you still have the the EPs, and now this is the Pen F. The big difference with the other compared to the other pens is the built-in viewfinder, which is really nice, but yet it still keeps that same rectangular kind of rangefinder shape. Where the OMDs have more of a DSLR little hump on top. Okay. So the pen really does. If you go on Etsy or one of those sites and you look at the original Pen F, which is a wacky camera, it was a half frame. I don't know. Did you know that?
Frame. We talk about full frame.
Yeah, no, so Olympus has been doing weird stuff for a long time, and to make things smaller, and so their idea with the original Pen F was to go half frame, so you got 72 shots on a roll of 36, and then since it was slicing that frame in half, when you're holding it horizontally, you're actually shooting a vertical shot. This is just a wild camera. It's crazy.
That does sound a little crazy.
It is. So this camera now, obviously, it has the orientation correct and everything, but it really harkens back to that design aesthetic from that original Pen F, and it absolutely is a beautiful, beautiful camera. You just want to look at it and hold it, and
yeah, it's got that very retro feel, a lot like the
Yeah.
Fuji's kind of came along with their line, and
Yeah.
it had kind of that older kind of retro feel. And
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I love with what both Fuji and Olympus are doing right now. They're both very exciting.
yeah, that's fantastic. Sarah, have you embraced any of the mirrorless or the smaller cameras? Or are you still shooting with your Canon still, right? Mark
Yeah,
IIIs?
I'm Canon, so I've played with some of them, and I've definitely I've shot with some of them, and I love playing with them. But when it comes to switching my gear, it's a matter of I would need to switch like 3 photographers' gear in order for it to.
Yeah.
So it becomes a much bigger issue of ever kind of like jumping onto a whole different platform. So, but I do love it when it comes to like I was actually playing with, just for my personal use, like the DxO. I'm sure you guys have talked about that on the show recently, but the new DxO, which is really fun and really small. And I'm a new mom, so carrying a baby around and any kind of camera is always, it's tricky finding the right kind of setup, but the DxO is a really fun camera to take pictures of her and be able to just throw in the diaper bag if I need to. So
Yeah.
I've been really playing with that.
I thought as a new mom though, don't you automatically grow that third arm?
Right?
Part?
You would think. I mean, I definitely need it. If they could figure out how to just like automatically have that happen too, it'd be so great.
Yeah. So you need to be a nimble photographer when you've got baby on board and traveling around. So.
Exactly.
So would the Olympus Pen F be a good pick for Sarah to?
Yeah,
be a
tell
nimble...
me.
Well, that's a great question. I mean, I think Sarah I think you'd love the pictures that came out of it for sure.
Yeah.
And I think you'd love the film modes on it, which is the other thing that Fuji's doing too. That's really cool. I don't know if you'd want to spend $11.99 though for a baby cam,
I don't know. Yeah, I do still pick up my professional camera about once a month for her specifically. I'm like, okay, pull out that camera. But we just had a lifestyle shoot done by my 2 photographers that work with me. And man, it's so fun to be on the other side of the camera sometimes, and you appreciate it even that much more when you have a family. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's stuff. We did a shoot a few years ago, just an anniversary shoot, me and my wife, and yeah, it was, you put yourself in the client's shoes, you can be on the other side of the lens, you go, oh, this is what it feels like, and you have a little more empathy, I think, when you on the other side of the lens. So
totally, and a clearer picture, kind of what your clients are feeling, and also what they are enjoying or appreciating about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, like I say, we talked. There's been lots of gear announcements probably over the last month or so. There's been a lot of gear. Nikon, announced the D5 a little while ago. We got the Olympus, the Pan F. We had Fuji making announcements a little while ago. And so our first story this week, we got a little bit of gear news this week. And this week we've got news both from Canon and from Sony. And so just this past week, Canon finally announced the 1DX Mark II. So this is their new flagship camera. Kind of, it's the top of their Canon line, and so this is the follow-up to the 1DX, which I happen to own. I own the 1DX. So I was very interested in this announcement, and then I saw the price tag, and then I did the Canadian conversion, and I cried a little bit inside. Yeah, north of the 49th parallel right now, we're paying a steep price for equipment and gear. It's street price on this is about $6,000 US, so about 8,000 Canadian. Thanks to our weak, lovely, underperforming Canadian dollar. So I don't know if the 1DX Mark II is going to be in my future, but let's just quickly look at the specs of this beast. So this is they've upgraded it's got a 20.2 megapixel full frame CMOS sensor. That's up from, I think the 1DX was 18. Again, like, it seems to be the trend. Nikon did it with the D5, so Canon's going to follow suit. Higher ISO capabilities. Sensors have been improved to have less noise at higher ISOs, which I think we come to expect that now these days. This camera also received an update to the autofocus system, so it's got a larger 61-point high-density reticular AF2 system that boasts 41 cross-type points and a coverage that's 8.6% larger in the top and the bottom of the central CF area. Who does the math on that and figures that out, I don't know. But it's got a better autofocusing system. Dual Digic 6 processors, so they've upgraded that. For blazing performance, you can now shoot up to 16 frames per second when you're in live view mode. So that's new. And they've also added a new type of card. I had not heard of these before. Derrick or Sarah, have you heard of these CFast cards? And do you know of other cameras using this new card format?
It's new. It's newish. And actually, when I was at a CES, I was asking Lexar about them because it's going, what's going. I mean, there's a couple of new types of cards out, CFast being one of them. And they said, we're like everyone else. We're just sort of watching and seeing what the camera manufacturers do because they're the ones that are going to drive adoption on these. So the fact that it's in this camera, CFast, I think that's that says something. We're gonna. But again, talking about a big pipe, going to that card. So it's pretty exciting. Beyond that, I don't know much about the internals of it, and I do know CF is on the way out, and they need something robust.
Yeah, I looked at these, and it's going to entail needing a new card reader and a new, their new cards are so they're obviously more expensive because they're kind of the bleeding edge of technology. So that was one of the things when I looked at this camera, I was like, I don't need that blazing fast speed. I shoot mostly weddings. I'm not shooting sports and stuff like that. So very rarely do I ever need that kind of frame, unless I have like a runaway bride. That doesn't happen very often. Sarah, I don't know if you encounter that or if you'd ever need that.
No, we're good. We're good this week. Yeah.
Maybe shooting the little one. Maybe shooting the baby. You need those fast frames per second.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, there's definitely some speed. It's usually groomsmen, or that's usually who I'm chasing.
So maybe this isn't a camera geared towards Sara France necessarily, but who do we think this is? The other features on it include shoots 4K video. So that's another feature of this.
At 60 frames, right?
Yeah, at 60 frames. Yep.
So I mean, I think that's kind of a big deal if you look at what is the way that 5D Mark II influenced video work. This one could have a big impact on 4K work.
Yeah, I also thought it was interesting that it has a touchscreen LCD, and you can touch to focus on the LCD as well.
Yes.
Which, again, is not something I'm not necessarily going to be using, but like videographers or even like commercial shooters or people who are doing like higher end work like that, where they're set up on a tripod and that kind of thing. That could be really useful.
Yeah,
and I think that's where Canon likes to try to distinguish itself on the high end is with its video capabilities. So this is if you're at this point, if you're deciding between Canon and Nikon, which you're probably not going to at the D5 or this camera level, you probably made up your mind a while back. But they are different cameras. When you compare the D5 to this camera, they are different cameras. They do have different strengths and weaknesses. So, and I think the 4K video is a big one on this one.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to note on your CFast card thing, I think one of the sites was having a special, I think it was B&H, where you could get the camera for $6,000 and you would get one card and a reader as part of that. It was like kind of an introductory offer. So I thought that was kind of neat. Kind of eased the pain a little bit there.
Yeah. So it's I also noticed that they're also compact flash compatible. So they have CF in them. Did I read that right?
Yeah, I think you did.
Okay. Because I was like, okay, so they're still using compact flash as an option. I'm guessing that there's like 2 card slots if the CFast cards are like different cards if they need a different card reader. So
yes, it's got one of each, one compact flash slot and one CF fast slot. So if you want to utilize that, and I know in my camera I use that second CF slot as my backup. So I have it set so that every time I'm capturing a frame, it's writing a second raw file to that second card. It's so important, shooting a wedding. I've had cards go on me.
Yeah. And we actually use the second card slot for shooting like a high-res JPEGs as could be a backup as well, but also just so we can quickly grab some images and do some edits, do previews, do something the day of if we want to. But what I didn't see in the announcement that I'm wondering that I love in some of the options that they have with some of the other Canons is the capabilities of being able to send an image to yourself from a camera. It should be in every single camera.
Agreed.
Amen. If it's not, I don't know for sure if it's not in this one. I didn't see it.
It's not built in. It's an add-on accessory that you have to bolt onto the side of it.
Onto the side.
It's a thing that plugs in on the side of the camera, and I agree. I mean, this one has built-in GPS, so this is the first time they've put built-in GPS into the camera, but no Wi-Fi. And I was like, what? Like, really? Come on, guys! It's 2016. Seriously. Wi-Fi should just be in there.
And the 7D has the capabilities in it. We've actually been considering buying one of those just for that capability, which is ridiculous. The fact that that doesn't make sense to me, but I'm sure they're listening to this podcast going, just wait, there's a Mark IV coming, and honestly, if the 5D Mark IV doesn't have that capability, I might even consider switching. At this point, come on.
I'm at that stage too. I was at a wedding recently with a friend of mine, and she was shooting the Nikon what was it now? D800? I think it was, and it had built-in Wi-Fi, and she had some amazing shots, and she wanted to Instagram them and get them up right away. And so we were at dinner, and she was just on her phone, and she just was able to post up a couple images really quick on Instagram from her camera. And I'm like sitting there looking at my camera, going, "Well, I could take a picture of the back of my screen, but I pretty much have to wait until I get home to do anything with these images." So it was kind of sad. So the fact this doesn't have Wi-Fi in it was kind of bad. I mean, you can get it, but again, it's another I don't know how much it is, a $700 something accessory.
No brainer. It needs to be in a $6,000 camera. Come on.
I guess they figure if you can afford a $6,000 camera, you can afford the $700 Wi-Fi attachment that goes. So Canon, if you're listening, please, for the love of God, put Wi-Fi in the 5D Mark IV.
Please.
Whenever that comes out.
I don't want to jump ship. I love it there. I love it here.
Do the Olympus cameras, did they have the Wi-Fi and all that built into them?
Yeah.
Oh, well, see, that's one of the things about the whole mirrorless realm, whether it's Olympus, Panasonic, Sony, Fujifilm. They're all really good about having all that stuff in there. So, you don't even think about it. You wouldn't even ask the question. They wouldn't even dare come out without it.
Yeah.
They just have it. That's the way it is. It's like Canon's an odd duck this way, and I can say this because I don't upgrade my Canon cameras very often, but I still shoot with them, and they're just odd because they love to separate out features among models, and that is just, to me, I don't know, so 1990 thinking,
Very Apple-esque.
But how they consider it a consumer, something to offer on a lower version of a camera, or a lower grade camera, a less expensive camera, and not our professional cameras, just blows my mind.
It is, it's just like, just put it in, put it in for Pete's sakes, because you can distinguish the camera. Look at all the, the cross AF sensors it has, and the speed at which it can capture in 60 frames a second on 4K. Okay, there's your differences.
Yeah.
You don't need to nitpick on these little things. So the mirrorless realm is really a lot more fun. When it comes to just having all that stuff in there.
We're just old and stodgy. That's it. Canon's just old and stodgy with these things.
You don't get that.
It befuddles me. It does. It does.
Yeah.
It really does.
Don't get that Wi-Fi in my camera.
Maybe it was just timing or like a slight, we don't want to hold on. I don't know, but I'm excited for the next
Right,
version.
this newfangled Wi-Fi thing.
New Wi-Fi.
Thing they want photos
never
on,
gonna
on their phones. What? I don't understand.
Yeah, then we have to update all the apps and
My
so
goodness.
much work.
Ugh. I
Just
think
for
one thing,
Instagram.
yeah, just all for Instagram. Yeah. One of the things though that was kind of interesting about this one is it does have built-in image optimization. So they have this
I was reading about that.
digital lens optimizer technology. So it stores information about the optical flaws of lenses and then digitally fixes those things on the fly with virtually zero decrease in camera speed. So for the first time in a Canon SLR, the camera can automatically correct for peripheral brightness, chromatic aberration, distortion, diffraction, sort of things that you previously had to correct in post-production. So I thought that was kind of interesting that they've added that capability to it as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. The chromatic aberrations one that we have issues with all the time. Even, I have the latest versions of all of the lenses, and we still have a ton of issues with chromatic aberration. So that would be really nice to have.
Yeah, for those who don't know, what do you want to just briefly explain? Like when do you see it? When does it occur?
Well, the easiest thing, one of our photographers has a really hard time visually seeing it. Like the color for her is hard to pick up, I think, from her eye. So it's pretty much anytime you're shooting a tree backlit.
Okay,
there you go.
And it's backlit, there is chromatic aberration. Like, just find it. Just go ahead and correct for it automatically. So it basically is lines that show up. I'm sure there's a technical way to explain it, but for the people trying to figure out what I'm talking about, there are lines that show up around the edges where the light is coming through the trees that are like purple or magenta in hue, sometimes a little on the blue side in hue. And so it just makes the whole tree kind of look purple or magenta in tone, just slightly. So
almost like a faint rim light around the edges of it, right? Yeah. So you have to correct for it in post, and it doesn't have to be time consuming if you know how to do it right. But if you miss it and post an image, it's definitely something. Anytime there's a tree shot, just go ahead and adjust for it. Right, go in there automatically. So that'll be something in this.
So what I was trying to figure out though, when I was reading about it in the Canon camera, is that corrections only for the JPEGs, because technically the RAWs aren't being processed in camera.
Ooh,
so
that's a good question.
So I'm just guessing. I would have to dig a little deeper on that, but my guess is that new feature is for JPEGs.
That would make sense.
Because it's the old thing: the JPEG's the cake and the RAW's the batter.
Oh, where did I hear that the first time? Oh my gosh, you're taking me back when I first heard that. I'm like, did you bake the cookie or not? Is it baked or is it not?
That's right.
Great.
Very good. Well, time will tell, I guess, once this gets out in the field and people start using it and when the reviews start rolling in. I'm still waiting. I'm going to hang on. I'm going to wait for the Mark IV. And we'll see. I think it's got to be coming soon. The last one, when the 1DX was announced last time, the 5D Mark III was announced. I think it was only a couple of months after the 1DX, and I had actually pre-ordered the 1DX, and then there was some delays last time. They had a delay of about 6 to 8 months before it came out from when it was originally supposed to come out, and during that time they announced and released the Mark III. And for me, I looked at it, and the specs on the Mark III were what I needed as a wedding photographer, and so I actually moved my deposit and picked up a 5D Mark III. And then about 6 months later, I needed another body, and I ended up picking up a 1DX as well. And the one thing I will say about the 1DX that I love, it's a heavy beast. Like, you're definitely not, if you're looking at the video, you're not a nimble photographer with this camera. It's heavy. But it's really well built, and it is solid as a brick. I have fallen in a creek with this thing on an engagement session. It was very embarrassing. I fell right in the creek, camera right in the water, in the mud, pulled it out, and it was covered, like, caked in mud and everything else. I kind of wiped it off and carried on with the shoot, and it was fine. no problems, no issues. So I mean, if you're shooting in extreme environments, I know Martin Bailey shoots a lot of like cold, in the cold weather and different things like that. So I think the durability and the ruggedness of this camera is really, I like it. So
yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what it does. I'll maybe get a chance to play with it. Maybe they'll have it at WPPI. We'll have a chance to take one out for a test drive.
It has its own zip code.
Yes. So our second story comes to us from Sony Alpha Universe, and this might be maybe of interest to Derrick. This is more along the lines of something a Nimble photographer might carry around, and that's the introduction of the new A6300. Which is the replacement to the very popular A6000. And we were actually recording TWiP Weddings, I think, last week when they made this announcement, and Robert Evans was really excited about this, and because he shoots a lot with his A6000, he shoots a lot of sports. And so he was very excited about this. So have both of you had a chance to kind of check out the latest from Sony and what they're...
Well, I mean, I definitely looked at the camera online, and I haven't seen it in person or had a preview of it or anything, but I mean, this is a body that has done great for them in its previous version, and I anticipate this one is too. And they're really on fire right now, Sony, I think, and I think this camera is going to just continue that. I was actually a bit more interested in the lenses, the 3 lenses, the Masters.
Yeah,
that was the other announcement. Yeah.
Yeah, the G. And those, I'm fascinated by them because on one level, Sony's doing, I think, what they feel like they have to do, which is compete with, the biggies. They're a biggie now too, of course.
Yeah. But
compete with the other biggies in terms of optics, and that would be Nikon and Canon in particular. There. By having these pro level optics, and the 3 they released definitely are in that category. At the same time, we're not putting these on a big DSLR. We're putting them on a much smaller body, and so you put the 2470 2.8 on a DSLR body, it balances okay. It's all heavy, but it balances.
Yeah.
And you start putting these optics on a smaller mirrorless camera, and it's kind of a odd configuration. It's a little odd. So, on one hand, I'm excited about the quality of the optics, and on the other hand, I'm going, man, that's big on a mirrorless body. So, and of course, expensive too.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
So then you start to go, well, then why am I shooting mirrorless? And I mean, then all sorts of things start to happen to my head.
Yeah.
Because the equation is getting thrown off when the lenses, to me, are the same size as DSLR lenses.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Sarah, did you get a chance to look at these?
Yeah, I mean, the lenses look awesome, and I assume they work with the A7R2 as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably what they're more like meant for. I would assume with an 85 1.4. I mean, if I was a professional shooter with a Sony setup, I'd be super excited to have like a really small body like this that I could use my professional lenses with, or have like a travel lens that's not this robust, which is really great. I have a friend that just recently switched from Canon to Sony with the A7R2, and I've been really fascinated with like his whole process and watching his images and what he's been getting, and also just the whole process of switching. And his name's David Manning. I shot at his wedding last year. He just got married, and they went on a honeymoon, and of course he took all of his gear with him on the honeymoon and stuff, was sending back a ton of images and great stuff. And he's taken some pictures of my daughter with his A7R2, and the images are great. I'm loving them, and one of their weaknesses has really been lenses, and now with these announcements, obviously, 2 really important lenses to like wedding photographers, of course, and that the 85 1.4, the Canon 1.2 is absolutely one of my absolute favorite lenses. So the 85 1.4 I think is going to be a really great portrait lens for Sony shooters, and the fact that you could throw it on to a small camera if you wanted to is nice for professional shooters. But I agree with you a little bit, and like the picture that they show with, I think it's the 85 on
it's the 85 is what you see a lot.
Yeah.
On the A6300, it's like, okay, that doesn't make it
looks a little top heavy.
Yeah. Like, I mean, obviously you're holding a lens, not a camera at that point.
Exactly. You are holding the lens.
And I feel that way a little bit with their A7R too. A7R too is like, that was one of my concerns with it, is I'm like, this body just, I don't know if I could hold on to it and really feel like it fits in my hand properly. It's just a little too small. It feels a little like I don't quite know how to grip onto it.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything.
You're like, I am leaving that one alone. So that's because some of the drawbacks, I think, and some of the reasons that I haven't been really like seriously considering switching. But it was really sweet when he was able to send me a photo that we took on the beach of my daughter in a cute Little Mermaid outfit. Immediately, right after the shoot. Yeah. And I got to post it right away. And I was like, dang it. So, that's some.
Yeah, I think Sarah makes a lot of good points. I mean, you know, these lenses are exciting. You know, just optically speaking, you know, they're exciting, and I think it shows a commitment by Sony, you know, to serious photography. You know, that, you know, they're not only, you know, going to put great electronics in their cameras, they're going to create, you know, optics that serious shooters appreciate. So I think bottom line is that it's good news. It's interesting news, and it's going to be, I mean, I want to see one. I want to shoot with one. I want to see how it feels, and I want to see how the images look and all that good stuff. Basically, on that 85, I want to see what happens to the backgrounds and how it shoots wide open and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I believe they'll be at WPPI, so
yeah, they will. Yeah,
be a chance to kind of try them out there. I know that like a few episodes ago, I sat down with Robert, and he and I talked about Robert Evans, and I talked to him about kind of why he made the switch to Sony as a professional wedding photographer, and it was quite interesting talking to him about it. But we were recording another episode when this announcement was happening, and he was excited about the A6300, but when they announced these G Master E-mount lenses, his eyes lit up, and he was so excited about having these. So basically, to recap what they announced 3 new lenses. They're these G Master E-mount lenses. There's a 24-70 constant f2.8, an 85 1.4, as Sarah mentioned, and then also a 70 to 200 2.8 as well. So 3 lenses that are, you know, I think if you asked most wedding photographers, those would probably be the 3 lenses that a lot of wedding photographers would want to spend the day with.
Yeah, I mean, 2 of those, the 2 zooms are definitely desert island lenses. You know, if you could only take one to a desert island, it's going to be one of those 2 lenses.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so yeah, it'll be interesting times to see. And then of course the A6300 is kind of the follow-up to the A6000. Now the one I guess the big selling point that they're of this one is that it's got the new focus system, this 4D focus system that can lock focus on a subject in as little as 0.05 seconds, and they're claiming that it's the world's fastest AF acquisition time, and it has 425 phase detection AF points, and what else did they say? It's good, you know, for sports. It'll shoot, I think, up to, I believe, where did I see it? I think 11 frames per second with continuous autofocus. And then this other kind of new feature is that it supports full live view sort of continuous framing on the True Finder or the LCD up to 8 frames per second. So you sort of get that real-time shooting experience that kind of, like, say, combines the benefits of an electronic viewfinder with the immediacy of a through-the-lens optical viewfinder. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So I know Robert shoots some sports on the sidelines, and he said it's a great camera for that. He shoots a lot of sports with his A6000 and finds that it works really good. You know, it's tiny, so, you know, he'd get the pro shooters with their big, you know, 1DXs and stuff kind of looking at, you know, look at the little guy with the little cute little camera, and then they would come over because they were curious and they'd want to see, and they'd see the images that he was getting with it, and they were sort of a little bit taken aback by the quality and that he could get. So
it's $1,000.
$1,000.
It's $1,000.
$1,000. $1,350 if you're up here in Canada.
So you could buy 6 of them and start your own company. Sort of. My cat's doing something weird here. I gotta go get her.
So yeah, I'm really intrigued. I want to have a close look at these.
Yeah.
I definitely, I'm not getting any younger, and just lugging around all the heavy gear and all the heavy lenses and all the bodies, it takes its toll, particularly on a long wedding day, an 8 or 12 or 14-hour wedding day. You're lugging that gear around with you. It can get tiring. So it's very appealing to look at something with a smaller, lightweight, with a good image quality and some of these features. So I'm definitely more and more impressed with what Sony is doing, and more intrigued to check out their gear. So Sony, if you're listening, feel free. You can send me some cameras. I'd be more than happy to test
They're
drive
just
them.
down the street from me if you need me to go swing by and pick something up.
That would be great. Yeah, just pop in.
They've got a really great team over there. I worked with them kind of with some of the their first introductions, which of course weren't nearly as fantastic as what they've got coming out now. So, but they're a really great team, great crew.
Yeah, and the artisans they're some really good photographers there too. So they got it going on. They do.
Yep, absolutely. Good stuff. All right. Well, after this quick break, we're going to revisit cloud backup. And we're going to talk about a service that Backblaze is offering for users to restore their data in the event of a crash. A free hard drive. Sort of. And this is where the FreshBooks ad will go. All right, continuing on with our final story here, and this is courtesy of The Verge, and I thought this was kind of interesting, a little bit of a discussion. So Backblaze, if those of you who are familiar with Backblaze, is an online cloud backup service, and they're making it a bit easier and cheaper to restore all of your data if your computer should ever crash or get lost or get stolen. So the company has always let subscribers pay $189 if you wanted to receive an external hard drive with a full copy of your backup. But maybe you don't need yet another external drive that'll just end up sitting around collecting dust. So now Backblaze is giving customers another option. Send it back within 30 days for a full refund. So all you have to do is cover the shipping costs, and then you just send the drive back to them. So interesting, I wanted to ask both of you guys kind of what you're on like. Because one of the big, I think, challenges with online backup is just the files we're creating these days. The cameras are getting, putting out bigger files, and the pipeline that we are dealing with, even though it's getting bigger, is still getting a little bit overwhelmed. And if you ever have a crash, getting your data back off that system could take days, weeks, months, possibly. So what do you guys think of this new option from Backblaze where you can actually get a drive shipped to you and then send it back and just cover the cost of shipping?
I love the option because I use Backblaze,
yeah.
And I've always wondered, I've been really thinking maybe we shouldn't use Backblaze. I don't know. What if I had a crash? Would it really work? Is it really syncing and uploading enough? So we've been kind of looking into that because honestly, I've been running it almost like a heaven forbid. I've already got 3 other backups, but just heaven forbid, let's just run Backblaze, as another option. But I love that idea of having the option to have it send an external hard drive, and that makes a huge difference to me.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Derrick, what do you think? Are you using a cloud backup solution?
No, I mean, my iPhone gets backed up to the cloud.
Yep.
Those are valuable shots, though.
Yep.
But beyond that, no, I don't use cloud because for the other stuff, to me, it's a little bit of a pain. But I do like this idea. I think this is really neat because, I mean, last thing I want to do is restore, everything I've lost via the cloud.
Yeah.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
So, getting the drive and then being able to copy it and then send it back and get your, money minus the shipping. That's good. That's good stuff. I think that's, listening to their customers is what I feel like it is.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I happen to use CrashPlan, and they actually moved away from the ability to restore from a hard drive, so you can't get that option anymore with them. So I kind of think Backblaze is definitely going in the right the right direction in terms of options.
Seems odd if you have it to get rid of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they decided to go that route, but they did. So what I was finding for me anyway, and probably Sarah, you run into this as well, is sometimes it's like this treadmill that the gopher can never run fast enough to catch up. Like we're continually when we get the peak of wedding season, and we're throwing 200, 300, 400 gigs at it a week, and it just can never get caught up and never get it all backed up.
I know, which makes me, I mean, the time I'm the most concerned is like right after we shoot a wedding. Because once I get it edited and posted to, the cloud in different places and stored in different places, it's pretty hard to lose. So, but that's what I kind of wonder with Backblaze is can it keep up? Because of my initial backup, I'm pretty sure took 2 months.
Yeah.
So now I feel like, well, should I just cut it off or keep it going? And, now that but I guess it really depends on what I lose and at what point, because the backup speed over the internet is not fast.
No, you got to have good upload speed, right? And a lot of internet providers now, I know up here in Canada, they're cracking down on your data limits. They didn't used to really care that much, but now they're starting to, we're getting notifications and saying, oh, you've used up, 85% of your monthly data limits. You can either, upgrade your plan or get unlimited data for an extra, whatever, $15, $20 a month, something like that. So I know they're starting to crack down on it. A lot of the big internet providers up here in Canada, of which we only have a couple to choose from, are kind of doing that, and they're cracking down. So it makes it even more expensive to do the online backup option. Mine was caught in this loop. I had replaced a drive, and it didn't recognize it as a new, so it started rebacking up the drive over again from all last year's weddings. And it was like, it told me it was going to take like 7 more months. And so I finally canceled 2015's backup and said, scrap it. I've got it already off-site. It's on drives. It's off-site somewhere. I just restarted from the beginning of 2016, and now it's all caught up and it's happy. So we'll see how long that lasts. But at least it gives me that if it's caught up, that night of when I shot the wedding or what have you, at least then it's by the morning when I wake up, I know it's out of the house in terms of the cloud.
That's good.
But then I take steps after that to make sure I've got.
We do other things, but I need to test it to see like how long it actually takes to see if I'm gonna actually take it seriously ever. Yeah. Right now it's like this thing I pay for that just in case it might save my butt someday,
Yeah, I bought another device, and I don't know whether you guys heard of this thing. It was kind of a Kickstarter device called a Lima. Did you hear about this device? Yeah, so it was a Kickstarter initiative, and then it made a big splash at CES, and it was kind of the little darling of CES, and it's basically you plug it into your router, and then you can connect a hard drive to it, and it creates a private cloud for you that you can then access from your tablet, any computer, any device, anything like that. That's the premise of the device. I have a return label that it's getting shipped back tomorrow. So, so that's my non-pick of the week.
Poor Lima.
Poor Lima. Yeah, it's just not. It's still a beta product. It was slow, and it was just not. It's not ready for prime time. So, I thought maybe that might be an option for some kind of cloud-ish private cloud storage.
They should put a thing on there, not for wedding photographers.
Not for anybody right now, I don't think.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was just too cumbersome and complicated, and didn't do really what it said it would do. So
that's a rough wedding there.
That happens with Kickstarter projects from what I've heard. Yeah. So there are some good ones out there, but that one was a swing and a miss, I think. So. Yeah. Oh well, that's how it goes. All right, well, I think we've kind of tackled that one pretty good. So let's move on, and we've got a listener question, and it's a timely question. So each week we answer a question from one of our listeners, and this week we got a question from Jason, and of course we've got all this new gear that's been announced and coming out. So Jason's wondering, where's the best place to sell off your used camera equipment? With all the new hardware that's coming out, I'm thinking of selling off some of my old gear to raise some funds for the new stuff. What do you guys think?
There's some good options out there. I mean, depending on what you're willing to pay for fees. I'm always moving stuff through. So I use, actually, in all honesty, I use Amazon a lot to sell. I'm an Amazon reseller. And I just like it because Amazon runs a tight ship. They hold our feet to the fire as sellers. We we have to, you know, play by the rules, and then as a buyer, you know, being a seller, I have more confidence as a buyer that way. The fees are up there a little bit. I think I want to say they're. I don't want to quote off the top of my head and get it wrong. I feel like it's around 10%,
Okay.
maybe, yeah, somewhere around that on the fees. But you know, that's not a bad way to go. If I want to sell face to face, I use Craigslist for if I want to, you know, just hand it to somebody and have them look at it. I think Craigslist's nice that way. The eBay thing, I have mixed feelings about. More as a buyer. I've had more issues as a buyer, especially for out of country sellers, some areas in particular. So I'm not quite as warm and cozy on the eBay thing. And then there's Fred Miranda, I think, is kind of cool, and Etsy is kind of cool. So there's some good stuff out there. You know,
I never thought of Etsy as a place to sell.
I know, me neither.
Yeah, if especially for older stuff, you know. I mean, the thing about Amazon that's nice, if it's currently in the catalog, in their catalog, it's a real easy sell because you end up on pages, you know, and there's also 8 others by these guys, you know. But if it's something that's not current, somewhere like Etsy's nice because people go there looking more for older stuff and vintage.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Point. For selling stuff that kind of, I agree in that we use like Craigslist for face-to-face. I really enjoy that. I have had some issues with eBay. I did not enjoy that experience. And I think that I really like the face-to-face or selling to someone that I know typically. So the other place that we sell stuff is on our like Facebook group for local San Diego photographers if we're selling stuff. I do have a team of 3 photographers, so most of my gear goes to them if I'm, you know, if I decide I want to get new gear, but mostly I sell my gear to them when they want something that I have, and then I just get a new one. So
that's really why you have associate photographers.
I get refreshed gear all the time. I've always got like, great gear, which is really nice, but it's also really important for me to keep them having really good gear too. So we're getting rid of like one of our lenses this year that's been to Canon a couple too many times that I had, and then is now one of my associate owns. So we're getting to that point where at some point, like 10 years down the line, a lens maybe needs to, you know, go to someone who isn't so particular about how sharp the image is and how perfect it is, and not have the overuse that we do with gear. So
yeah, and when do you guys think
are really great, but
when do you think is the best time to sell something that's current? Maybe not something that's an older camera, but something current. Like say they announce the 5D Mark IV tomorrow, and Zara, you want to sell your Mark III. Do you think like right when they announce it is the best time to sell it, or you wait a little bit?
Well, I think if you're a smart buyer, that's when you go looking, because there are a lot of people who just do it no matter if it's a good time or not.
They just want the latest.
Yeah. So, and I'm probably one of those. I'm like, all right, on with the new.
Yeah.
But it's always great to keep your old the one camera that you had as a backup camera, and get rid of your backup camera if it's like an older one. It's like upgrading your backup camera at the same time. So that's what we do typically, and then you're selling an older camera that is a totally different audience than who's looking at the brand new camera that's coming out.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter when in that case.
Yeah. And then the one tip I would say is you know, really rate your stuff, you know, carefully, because that's really important for your reputation. And don't overrate don't say, hey, this is like new, you know, and well, is it really like new? I mean, look at it, you know, very closely, like if you were the buyer, and rate accordingly, because if you want happy customers, the 2 things you can do when you're selling is ship fast and be conservative on your rating, and people will be much happier.
Right, yeah. If you say it's a 10 out of 10 and they get it and it's a 4 out of 10, they'll be...
Yeah, don't be that far off. But even, I mean, I've seen that rating my stuff that I feel is like new, very good, hasn't hurt my sales at all, and it's made for happy customers.
Yeah, That's good. Yeah, the buy and sell groups locally, I think, are really good here too. Have you guys ever heard? I don't know if there's any issues with selling on Craigslist or meeting people if there's potential for. You always hear warnings of make sure you meet them out front of a police station or something like just so that there's no you don't get mugged or something.
I meet them in a Starbucks. It's fine.
Yeah.
They get frisky. There's a whole lot of people around. I don't know.
With buying, I think it's more about making the customer comfortable with it, because buying on Craigslist is scarier than selling on Craigslist, in my opinion. And I'm a female, so with expensive camera gear. Maybe I should be paying more to know. I would meet them in a public place too and be careful. But I think for the buyer, they're buying really expensive gear, and it's really hard sometimes if you don't know what you're getting to just be careful of knockoffs and things like that. Know for sure what you're getting.
Yeah. Very good. Well, that's some good advice for Jason, and I want to thank him for sending this question. If you have a question you'd like answered on a future episode of the show, just visit thisweekinphoto.com and click on the Submit a Question link to send us a question, or you can also leave us a voice message. So after this quick break, we will share our picks of the week. Out of Chicago insert goes here.
Yay, out of Chicago.
Yay.
Out of Chicago.
All right, let's jump back into our picks of the week. Each week we will choose a photography-related item. As long as it's photography-related, it can be anything. So, ladies first, Sarah, what have you got? What's your pick of the week?
So, my pick of the week is WPPI. If you don't know what it is, which I have run into several people who don't know what it is, so I'll definitely tell you, but it's an international conference. It's Wedding and Portrait Photographers International, and photographers come from literally all over the world for this conference. Last time I checked, I think it was 12,000 photographers attend it. Yep. It is the most amazing thing, and I can tell you that when I started as a photographer, I don't think I want to tell you how many years ago that was, but it was quite a while ago. It was the first thing that I attended that I felt like really changed my life. It was amazing to see just all of the products and all of the services and the education, everything around it is amazing. So there's courses every single day. There's multiple courses for you to choose from. Platform classes are completely free. You can go to any class you want. Just deciding which one to go to is the hardest part. Yeah. We actually, on our Facebook and on our blog, put together a list of the classes that we are going to be attending and that we feel like are the most important. So you can always check those out, francephotographers.com.
Oh, nice. We'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Yeah, that would be great. And then we also, I'm speaking this year. I've spoken, I think, 5 or 6 times now. I'm doing a platform class Tuesday morning at 8:30, and this one's on basically building a different kind of associate team. So I'm really excited about that. But honestly, if I wasn't speaking, this would still be my pick of the year, because I feel like if there's one thing that you want to do to completely change your perspective on your business and take it to the next level, you can find it here. If it's not here, I don't know where you're going to find it, because there's all sorts of education, like I said. Every major company is there. They have products for you to see and use. Canon will be there with all of their gear for you to check out. Plus, they have all sorts of classes and stuff at different booths. So you can find me at a few different booths and spaces there too. So I would love to meet you. If you're a TWiP listener, please come up and say hello and tell me that you heard me on TWiP. That's my favorite. Some of my favorite clients, wedding clients, are TWiP listeners too. So I absolutely would love that.
Fantastic, yeah. And if you want to learn more, we actually just had Jason Group on the show on TWiP Weddings about a week ago, and he gave us kind of the skinny and the lowdown on what to expect at WPPI 2016. So if you want to learn more about WPPI, hop on over to our TWiP Weddings and give that show a listen. And I will be there this year as well, so we can meet up, Sarah.
Yes, we should.
Excellent.
Oh, I guess we should have said when it is. It's March 6th through the 10th. They're like, when is it? When is it? Just tell me. And it's in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yes.
At the MGM, and you can stay either at the MGM or at the Signature. So there's lots of options. You can stay anywhere you want, but definitely come join us. It's a blast.
It is a lot of fun. 15,000 they're expecting this year. So.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, so it's a big event. It's fun. Derrick, have you been to WPPI?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's a good show. I love the show, and you know the floor is fun too at WPPI.
Oh yeah.
I think it's one of the better floors for demonstrations, and you know you can just walk around to the different, you know, like someone's doing lighting, and they'll be doing a shoot right there with a photographer that knows what he or she's doing, and you can learn a lot just hanging out on the floor. So it's a good show.
Yeah,
it's a really good show.
Very good show.
Yeah.
Excellent. What have you got for us this week? What's your pick this week, Derrick?
I'm going to do a street shooting bag, one that I carried around in Austin. Let me see. Can we see this here?
Yeah, if you're watching the video, we've got Derrick showing it on the video there.
It's kind of new. It's different for a low pro. It's called the Streetline SL140, and right away you can see that unlike a lot of low pro bags from the past, it's very skinny.
It is very skinny. It almost looks like a laptop bag.
Yeah, it's very stylish. And what they did was that I really like, and what I do is I put this bag in my suitcase, and then I pull it out when I get there. But they created this system inside where these things open up. And instead of doing foam insert, which just takes up a lot of room and doesn't squish, it has these accordion pockets, and when you're not using them, you can fold them back flat.
And
it's just a really nice bag. It's this particular size, the 140, is made more for street shooters, for mirrorless cameras and Leicas and stuff like that. And then they have a bigger bag, but it's comfortable. And even though it's not very big here, I can even get, if I wanted to, I could get my 13-inch MacBook Pro in there. iPad, all that, and I carried it all day. I mean, we had like 12-hour days and stuff, and it was super comfortable. So I like it a lot. It's a Streetline SL140, and it's kind of a change in direction for these guys.
Yeah, very cool. I'd have to
really
check
stylish.
That out. Very stylish. Yeah.
Super stylish. Yeah.
Always in the quest for the. We never ever find the perfect bag, right? We're always on the quest for the perfect camera bag.
Yeah.
Lots of bags. That's the perfect bag.
I have a closet full of the perfect camera bags.
Yeah.
Derrick, you're so stylish and trendy.
I know. It's just like this is wearing it. You know, I will tell you this to that point, Sarah. So when we were in Austin, we were with reporters from DP Review and Imaging Resource, all that. It's the first time I ever had a bunch of photographers coming up to me asking me what a bag was. What bag is that? And that never happens. So that's interesting.
I like that. Yeah, I'll have to check those out because I have low pro bags and I really like their bags, so I will check them out. Great pick. Good stuff. Well, I've got two picks this week. The first one is just multiple accounts have been added to Instagram. Yay! So if you use Instagram, you have more than one account. They've now made it easier to manage multiple accounts in Instagram. So you can actually go into your profile. Now they're rolling this out. It's like a phased rollout, I think. I don't have it yet on mine, but apparently it's coming. And then so if you're managing multiple Instagram accounts, now you have the ability to add another account. So you don't have to like log out and log in to a different account if you want to post to a different Instagram account. So that's kind of cool.
That is amazingly cool.
Yes, yay!
The most requested
feature
for a while.
Cool.
I mean, my daughter has her own Instagram already. She's only one, but you should definitely check it out. It's really cute. But that's impossible, like going back and forth. So that was great news. Thanks.
Yeah. So that's coming. Yeah. So if you don't see it yet, it's being rolled out. So apparently it will be coming to an Instagram near you soon. And my other pick is actually a sort of a sub-site on the National Geographic website, and it's proof.nationalgeographic.com, and it's a really interesting site. Have either of you guys visited Proof?
Mm-mm.
I have not.
It's really interesting. So it's basically from the photographers and the photo editors' standpoint it's kind of their point of view on the story behind different photo shoots. So they'll pick up different assignments and different stories that they've covered. Like so, for one example, this one that I'm looking at right now is A Girl Gives Birth. It's an intimate look at teen motherhood in Latin America, and so it's the whole kind of background story about what went in to cover that assignment and the shoot and some of the photographs from that and the storytelling. It's a fabulous site. Like I could just sit and look at the photography on this site. I love photojournalism. That's probably my favorite genre of photography is photojournalism, and so this is just a fantastic site, and I hadn't heard about it until just recently, and there's just tons of good content on there to consume. So proof.nationalgeographic.com is where that lives. Worth checking out.
Yay.
Yeah.
Another something to do when I should be doing work.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. We just need more distractions, right?
Yes.
I hear you. Well, before we're kind of near the end of the show, but before we sign off, what do you guys have planned in the coming months? Sarah, we talked about one thing you've got planned, but
I know. Well, now I definitely am going to be at WPPI. I didn't mention what booths I'll be at, but I'll be at I'll be swinging by the Fineo booth, Shoot Q, Fundy, and probably Shoot.edit. So I'll be on the floor a lot. And again, Tuesday at 8:30 in the morning, you can come see my platform class. And then, otherwise we're starting to build the new websites for the business, and that's exciting. So we've been spending a lot of time doing that and just launching our city of Austin and looking at a couple other cities that we might be launching as well. So we're busy over here.
Fantastic. Sara France taking over the world.
One wedding at a time.
One wedding at a time. Excellent.
Yeah.
Very good. Derrick, what have you got coming up?
I'm putting the finishing touches on a training for Linda on Capture One Pro 9, which I'm super excited about.
Excellent.
Having migrated from Aperture, so and in love with its raw processing. And then I'm writing this month. I'm also writing a book for Rocky Nook on photos for OS 10. So, which is the two different ends of the platter there.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say, hey, you're covering the
a little something for everyone.
That's excellent. That's good stuff. Yeah, I keep hearing great things about Capture One. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet myself. I'm pretty ingrained in Lightroom, but I keep hearing good things about it. So one of these days, when I have nothing else to do, I'm going to sit down and take a closer look at Capture One.
I should say, I just had an ebook launched today. It's a freebie from Rocky Nook, and it's for people that want to look at migrating from either Lightroom or Aperture. I do sections for both, to Capture One Pro. There's a lot of built-in tools, and I present a whole plan on how to do it and how to move your stuff and what actually comes over and what shape it's in and all that stuff. So It's a free ebook on rockynook.com.
Fantastic. We'll put a link to that. I'll have to get you to send me the link, and we'll link to that in the blog post for this episode. That is fantastic. Well, I've got. I'll be at WPPI this year as well. I'm not presenting. I'm just there representing TWiP, and I'll just be taking in the classes and taking in the expo and walking the show floor. So if you see me, come on up and say hi. I'll be, bopping around there. I'll definitely plan to meet up with Sarah at some point. I'll try and pop in and say hi, because we actually have never met in the real world. So.
Yeah.
Come up and say hi. And I'm a poor starving Canadian, so I'm going to get a shirt that'll say, I'm Canadian, buy me a drink, because it's too expensive in the U.S.
That's a great idea. I'll buy you a drink.
I'll be at that, and then I'm also going to be at the Canada Photo Convention, which is taking place in Vancouver, April 5th to the 7th. So that's another great conference that I'll be attending coming up.
Oh, that sounds fun. This is one of my favorite cities.
Yeah, Vancouver's a great city, so I'm looking forward to going out there in the spring.
Yeah.
And some really great speakers, really great. My friend Jasser has organized this, and it's been going now. This is the third year, and he's expanded it now. It happens in Vancouver and Toronto. Fabulous conference. He gets in some really, really exceptional speakers.
Oh, wow.
And it's a lot of wedding and portrait photographers, but it's kind of open to all photographers and all genres, and covers a wide range of topics. But it's a smaller, intimate conference. It's less, it's a couple hundred people. So it's really a chance to kind of get to interact with other photographers, and I've never been. This is my first time going to it, so I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
Yeah, it should be good. All right, well, that brings us to the end of another episode of TWiP. I want to thank you guys for helping us keep the train on the tracks, and I don't think we crashed the mothership, so we can return it safe and sound to Frederick, and he'll be able to drive it safely next week. I don't think we bent the rims or did anything, scratched it or dented it. We want to thank FreshBooks for their support, and where can our audience go if they want to follow you guys and keep up with what you're up to? Miss France, where can they go?
They can go to either sarafrance.com or francephotographers.com, both. And I do have a Google Plus page. I have a Facebook page, multiple France photographers myself as well. And, of course, on Instagram. We love Instagram as well. And you can follow France Photographers or you can follow me.
Excellent.
Or both.
Very good. Because you'll be able to easily post from both now.
Oh my gosh. Right. I'm so excited. That was like the best thing I've heard in so long. That's amazing news.
Very good. And Mr. Story, where can they go to keep up with
The Digital Story, thedigitalstory.com, and all the links to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff's right there.
That is the central hub.
That is the hub. That's where everything runs through.
Excellent. And when's your training on lynda.com going to be live? When's that?
I really am hoping we're in editing right now, so I'm really hoping that it'll be out by the end of the month.
Excellent.
So, very good.
So we'll stay off that National Geographic site for the next couple of weeks.
I've really got to stay. Got to finish the darn book.
Yeah, get that done. Excellent, good stuff. Very good. And well, if you're looking for me, you can find me at my website, which is momentsanddigital.com. Again, there's links to everything there. If you're looking for me on the social medias, Bruce Clarke with an E at the end of Clarke. Most of the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. And if you're a wedding photographer or a portrait photographer, and you want to learn more about the world of wedding photography, the business of wedding photography, the creative side of it, come on over and give our show a listen. And myself, Robert Evans, and Brian Caparici host a bi-weekly show called TWiP Weddings on the TWiP Network. So we'd love to have you over there if you enjoy that type of photography. And of course, be sure to visit our website at thisweekinphoto.com. And with that, it's time to take that lens cap off. I always wanted to do that.
The Alex Lindsay